Hi. I'm sorry, let me set this.
Finally, hi, finally. Oh God.
Honestly, this just showed me, right, that where there's a will, there's a way. And that is totally
Truly.
us. I hope I get this right. Hi.
Hello, latest book author in town.
I love the sound of that.
How are you feeling?
It feels good. It feels really good. I've got like a little model right up here. So every time I come to work, I just have to remember that, this happened. Can you hear me?
Yes. I hope it's not my network that is just hanging us, freezing us.
Can you hear me?
I can't. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
I can
you.
hear
I
you.
can hear you.
Okay. Fantastic. You know where they? I'm starting from behind to the front, but whatever, man. The my I heard someone say something. Said if you want to do something that lasts, he said plant a tree or write a book.
Yeah, I heard that from you.
And yeah, right. And because think of when you were in primary school, the books you were reading, studying with, and they had been written a long time ago. Your kids are probably
Uh,
still studying those same books. But it's timeless. When you put a book together, it's timeless. So
Thank
that's a
you.
big accomplishment. Yes. Really welcome everyone to Gyang. This is just a safe space where we have conversations that are raw and real, unfiltered. And the purpose is just to share hopefully what is experiences and information that can be life changing to people. I'm not going to waste a lot of time today because the network is suspicious, so I'm going to
Yeah.
dive deep into it. Today, I have a guest that is no stranger to the free conversation. She's someone that I met maybe a year ago, but she's become very near and dear to my heart. Um, she is a personal branding expert. She's a lawyer. She's a mommy. She's a wife. She's an entrepreneur. She's a woman doing things. And she recently launched a book. I'm going to let her talk more about it, but I just felt like the topic on which she wrote about, which is personal branding, is a very, very necessary thing now because today, in today's currency, and what is going to be important in the future, your personal brand is probably going to be the first thing people look at. So I'm really excited to have her just come and talk to us about personal branding, what it is. But then also talk to us about her book. Not just even the book itself, but the whole process. I know there's a lot of people watching that I know who want to write books, who have had these ideas, and for some reason or the other have not been able to do it. But Paula was able to climb all the obstacles, and make it happen. So I'm really excited to talk to her about these things. Paula Pwul, welcome to the Free
Thank you so
Conversations.
much. Thank you so much for having me, Ruby. Like you said, this we met pretty much less than a year ago, and
Mhm.
this has already gone on to be one of the best relationships in my life. Is like I've learned a lot. I hope I have contributed a lot. It's been very
Absolutely.
impactful in a short period of time.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
this is awesome. Paula, I'm going to jump right into it. I don't even know where to start. Let me start with the book and then we'll talk more about personal branding. Why did you decide to write a book?
Yeah, that's a great question. Recently, somebody told me that, in fact, my husband told me, right, that his analysis of me is that I want my life to be documented. Like, if I
Hmm.
die and my life was documented, that would have made, living worth it for me. And I
Yeah.
have never felt so seen in my life. I have never felt, even I had never articulated it that well. But I've
Hmm.
always had this yearning to share knowledge. I've always had this yearning to, even when I didn't know what I
Hmm.
didn't know, I wanted to share. So there is that. But I've also always been, I've had my head inside books. my whole life, from the
Mm.
moment I could read. I couldn't read till I was 6. When I was 6, this story is also in the book, but when I was 6,
Mhm.
I changed schools. And when I
Okay.
got to the new school, it was quite a much posher school than where I was coming from. And everybody could read, and I couldn't read.
Mm. Wow.
I was the only one in the class that couldn't read. So you can imagine how behind I was. I was definitely not the book.
Yeah.
I was not, you know. So, but I started to understand that lack immediately. Like I knew
Mm.
that there was something wrong, and so I put my mind to it. The moment I could read, I read everything in sight. Everything I
Wow.
could put my hands on, I was reading. I was just
Mm.
taking it all in. I felt like I had a lot to catch up,
Mm.
I'm guessing. But
Mm.
so I from then on, from 6 till maybe now, I've read other people's works. I can probably
Mhm.
write one of those fluffy Harlequin romances. I can probably
Yeah.
write that. Right. I've read so many, but reading, I got to wanting to write from reading other people's works, and then I realized, okay, so
Mm.
this is not an impossible thing. I'm reading other people's thoughts. I'm reading other
Mhm.
people's bodies of work. This
Yeah.
experience that I have gathered can go into a book as well. It might be able to help somebody, just like other people's books have helped me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That makes so much sense. It's really interesting where it's when you talk about not being able to read till like 8, 6. Hold on. So with the book really, why now though? Why not since then? What made you
That is a great question. It's definitely a combination of lack of clarity, I would say laziness,
Hmm.
and a sprinkle of indiscipline,
Hmm.
right? Because
Okay.
if you're going
Okay.
to do anything great at all, you've got to get over these things. You've got to find some clarity. You've got to find some discipline. You've got to find,
Mm,
get off your ass and work. And
mm,
for the longest time, I would say that I was not the most disciplined person. I
mm,
was not the most clear person about my future. That place between secondary school and when you really find yourself. Some people are lucky to find themselves, really young in secondary school, in maybe even university. There are still some really young people doing great things. But I was not one of those people. So I could not even
mm.
fathom I couldn't fathom putting myself together enough to write a book. What would I write about? Who would take me seriously? So from
Wow.
then,
Yeah.
yeah, from then, and again, I've realized that it's a lot of taking yourself seriously first before other people will take you seriously. So back to your question of
Hmm.
why now,
Very true.
5 to 6 years ago, I started taking myself seriously. I started doing the work,
Hmm.
the self work, the calling yourself out,
Mm,
the learning,
mm,
practicing, the teaching. So this book is a
mm.
accumulation of that. Now, I had
Yeah.
one of those, those 30-year goals. Oh, by 30, I would have done this, that, and that. And, so writing a book, being published at 30 was one of those goals. But if I'm being honest with
Yeah.
you, the fact that the book didn't come out at 30 means I was not put together enough at 30.
Yeah.
So it's as simple as that. I did not sit myself down and give myself a target and meet the target. Or we would say it was not
Mm,
God's time. So instead of coming out at 30, it came out at 32. But again, I look back and think this is the best time it could have come out.
mm,
This is
mm.
the most healed, most aware, most confident me.
Wow.
I wasn't this person 2 years ago. So I could have put out the
Mm,
book, but not with the kind of heavy lifting, I would say, that
mhm,
I
mhm.
put it out now. Yeah.
It's really interesting. You talk about how there was an internal work that had to happen before you decided to did that work, right? Did Was there any sense of like imposter syndrome, or was there anything? What were there doubts? Were there because you mentioned indiscipline, you mentioned, lack of clarity, you mentioned even laziness. But a lot of those things I believe are symptoms of something that is going on internally,
Yeah.
So what were some of those things, some of those hurdles you had to overcome?
Interestingly, imposter syndrome has a whole chapter in my book, right?
Wow.
That chapter is
I need to get
called
that book.
That Imposter Thing, the imposter
Mm,
thing. And that's because there is always, at every turn, at every elevation, there's always some kind of imposter syndrome that hits you because you're about to do
mm,
something new. You're about to
yeah.
start something new. You don't have
Mm,
proof that you can do it.
yeah.
So yes, there definitely was imposter syndrome. And again, like I said, it couldn't have come 2 years ago. I may have forced it, but 2 years ago, I would not have had this I would say capacity to move
Mhm.
regardless of feeling
Okay.
like an imposter. So it's not like it's no longer
That.
there. It's not like I no longer worry that if other senior, brand people read my book, it's going to be like, what's she saying? It is holding on to the knowledge that I
Yeah.
know and teach, that regardless of how little you know, somebody out
Mhm.
there needs it. So that I just held on to
Wow.
that. And I know that this book would have done wonders to the me of 3, 4, 5 years ago. And I just put that person in mind and kept and wrote for her,
Mm.
you
You know
know.
that if you put out contents that does not impact you, that does not, affect you or help your life in some way, how do you expect it to be helpful to someone else?
Yeah.
So that is very, very key about writing stuff that really comes from here. Um, everything, but something. That something can be useful to someone
Exactly.
out there. Put it out
Exactly.
there.
Mhm.
It's very, very important. So I ran with it because I was doubting myself on stuff. I was like, okay, I want to do stuff for artists, but I haven't been in the game for a while. How would they take it? Like, who is this mama coming to?
Yeah. See,
So it encouraged me in what I was doing because I have a newsletter on.
mhm. I follow it. Yeah.
I've been putting it out. I checked you out on LinkedIn. My niece told me about you, and then checked you out on. I just like, okay, they'll say, create your own. So I created my own,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
And
we're
I
pushing
read
them.
your newsletters.
You know,
I
so it's
do.
really thank you. So, it's really the things like this are important because you're not aware of who you're inspiring. Do you know, Paula? Just from my broadcast list on WhatsApp, I've had like 3 ladies hit me up. I'm like, man, you inspired me. I've started my own. They'll share with me that their podcast link or their newsletter or something.
That
So
that's wonderful.
yeah. So in doing what you're giving people room to shine. Like for me, I have been toying with an idea for a book for a while, but seeing I'm saying, so
It can
Paula
be
doesn't have two
done.
heads now. Maybe I go do my own. You know? And Paula, I bet, that there's people coming up to you and saying you have inspired them to write their books. I'm sure of that. You can't tell me otherwise. So tell me what that is like, what's that feeling like? And after that, tell me about the whole launch and the whole process. We want to know.
Okay, so I 2 years ago I launched my podcast in 2023, and I know like 2 to 3 people who launched podcasts. As a result of that, they reached out and said, "Oh, your podcast inspired me. I started my own podcast. Here's give it a listen."
Mm.
And let
Mm,
me tell you, that that feeling, that feeling is you can't bottle it up. Like you cannot, if you
mhm,
could, you would, but like that is one of the
mhm.
best feelings in the world. Knowing that
Wow.
somebody else is giving herself permission because I gave myself permission,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And in the same way that maybe our ancestors never met us, but we have their genes, is the same way
Yeah.
anybody you impact, who goes on to impact somebody else, who goes on to impact somebody else,
Hmm.
is a chain, right?
Wow.
It's it's a chain, and just being part of somebody else's chain is,
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful for it. I'm
Mm,
grateful
I
for
love
it.
that.
I may not have started out looking for this. Honestly, I started out trying to save myself. I was trying to save my sanity. I was trying to,
Mm.
look in the mirror and not feel so underutilized, just not
Mm.
feel
Mm.
like the potential I knew I had, like we cannot see any evidence of it. So that
Mm.
was kind of where I started from just trying to do better for myself. But now
Wow.
seeing that in doing better for myself, I'm able to, at least if somebody can say, if Paula can do it, I can do it. It's great. It's permission. It is, there
Absolutely.
is, Paula doesn't have two heads. And that's kind
Absolutely.
of like, so you do it, and then somebody else sees you and is like, this person doesn't have two heads, I can do it too. And
Yeah.
then that's, how inspiration goes. Sometimes it comes like shade. Sometimes
Mm.
it comes
Yes.
like,
Like
oh
me
yeah,
and
it comes like,
yeah. The,
like Sifola, she's, that's
if I
okay.
agree
Inspiration is inspiration any which way,
anywhere.
any way it comes, as long as it gets you moving, because the goal is the collective, outpouring of potential.
Mm.
So we don't have to be friends. You don't have to like me, but if my
Mhm.
doing it helps you do your own thing wherever your space is, that is worth, more than money, to be honest. you
Wow.
know
That's just so powerful. That's so powerful. That is so powerful. Do you know, as you were talking, I was together, I was like, say, you actually have, it just dropped in my mind. I don't know. You actually have another business thing you can do, which is like walking people through this process from creation all through to even launch.
yeah,
Myself being the first client, but just putting it
let's
out
do
there, right?
it.
Just that whole, I can see that happen. It can actually become
Let's
a
do
thing,
it.
and it's very key, particularly for our people from this part of the country where modesty has been ingrained. I
Yeah.
was watching just a clip by Maya Angelou, and she said something. She said, modesty is an affectation. Humility is part of your character. So modesty is trained. Oh no, you're supposed to. Oh no, you're
Yeah.
supposed to.
Uh,
Don't.
let's shy it. Let's,
Nice girls finish first, which is a lie. All that kind of, allow other people to go before you, that kind of nonsense. She said, it's an affectation. It's not, it's a horrible thing. Humility is like, okay, you know what? I appreciate myself, but I also appreciate other people.
mm,
My pastor said, humility is seeing yourself as God sees you, and God sees you as fearfully and wonderfully made, as the best thing since sliced bread. So I don't understand the definition of humility people have, but I definitely think that with what you have done, particularly like women in your circle, women in your age range, is going to inspire them to actually want to do more, whether it's out of beef or whether it's
very
out of
okay.
like, oh, admiration and appreciation is fine. Let's make sure, let's get that happening. So I want you to talk about, I know that you have a very strong support system, whether it's from your marriage, your husband and your kids. You see that, like, I was watching the clips at the show and you could see it was just there. How important is that, to have that support system? And if you don't have that support system, how can you, I guess, support yourself? What can you do?
Do you know, I have a great support system. I really do. That's something I'm really thankful for. But a
Yeah.
bulk of the work comes before the support. The bulk of the
Mm,
work, you have to do it yourself. You have to do it on your own. You've got to, especially in
yeah.
a creative industry. in a space
Mm-hmm.
where there's the expectation, go to school, get good grades, get a job, right? And that is
Yeah.
what people, especially around here, understand.
True. True.
As long as you are on that line, there's support because they understand it.
Mm.
Once
Mm.
you start to go outside of the norm, right? Once
Yes.
you start to, change the path, go out of the box, go out of the understood and accepted, you are your support system
Mm-hmm.
primarily. So
That's true.
you have to be there for yourself. If you're looking for support
Mm.
outside of you, you're looking at it, you're looking for it from people who need you to, to understand what you're trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's clear. So, for example, my husband, my friends, my parents, they loved me.
Mm-hmm.
They knew what opportunities were available to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, out of love, they did not shut my ideas down when I started going in that
Yeah.
direction. But they could not give me the support I needed because I did not have anything for them to support. I did not have
Hmm.
a viable business to say, come and invest in. I did not have a book to
Wow.
say, come and support me in the launch. I did not
Yes.
have
Yes.
I didn't have, so when you're starting from scratch, when you're still figuring it out, don't blame people for not supporting you because it is primarily your job to bring the vision to life. And that process can be lonely.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
But
Wow.
when it comes out, all those every time I see one of those, oh, they did not support me when I was starting, is now that they supported me. I understand this, but there's no need for all of that. The vision was given to you. And birthing
Woo!
can be a lonely process. But there are people that are just waiting for you to figure it
Only you
out.
can bomb for yourself.
Once you
Yeah.
do, they will come on board because they love you. And if they
Mm.
don't, strangers will, because strangers need, I mean, there are people out there that need you. The reason why you're supposed to put out this
Mm.
product, this book, this podcast, this
Mm.
live, whatever it
Mm.
is that there's somebody
Mm.
out there who may not be in your immediate sphere. That's what the internet has done for us. That will find you and relate
Yeah.
and learn and give themselves permission because you have, and work with you. So it might be strangers, it might be family, but
Wow.
yeah. I will be thankful, honestly, for the people who loved me, who didn't rule me out when I was
Mm.
in planting season,
Mm.
who didn't dismiss me, right? Okay, yes, this thing I'm doing is not profitable now. Here is something for data. Here is, oh, I've paid. There are some of my friends that just reach out and say, oh, I've paid for this Ashwebi for you, right? Because I was still trying to figure it out. I think I lost you.
Sorry, people, the network. God, hey guys, I'm so sorry. I'm hoping Paula will be able to come back. The gist was just getting sweet. So hey, we might have to come back and do this again. But I think I will definitely still share some of the thoughts that she shared with us today. I'm listening. I'm so inspired. Okay. Just spoke to Paula. Hopefully, she'll be joining us soon again. Ah, God. Hmm. Okay. Yeah. Hey, I'm
We're
hoping
doing
that
it.
this is the second or third time.
Give or take that time.
Okay, Paula, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. You can hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, okay. Wave, you can hear me. Okay, great. Okay, so let me you were just spitting some truth. I'm gonna have to chop this clip together. We have to come back and have another conversation. But you said
You
something that
should.
was so powerful about how you have to be the first believer in yourself, because it is you that was given the vision. So you it's not even though yes, the support system is great and is very helpful, it's still not an excuse not to do what you're supposed to do simply because people don't get it and people don't understand. This reminds me of a
Abs-
conversation I had with my mentor. He said, Ruby, you can't wait when you're a pioneer, you can't wait for people to understand what you're doing.
Mhm.
It's in the doing that they'll finally. Let me just share a story. So in 2017, oh my god, that's almost 10 years, I released a song. The song is my first song, like in Hausa. So I was saying Kaleni the kill Nietzsche. So I sent to one of
Yeah,
my
I
Egbons
know
who
that
was
song.
my supporter. I sent it to him. The way he scattered the song, nonsense, rubbish, this one, that one, that one. Misha, I'm the type of person that if I feel convinced about something, right or wrong, I will do
You
it.
go ahead.
And I'm ready to take my L if it fails. So by the time we did it, we did everything, push, push, push. It had a great reception. Someone even wrote a whole article about my strategy. I didn't have any strategy. I was just like, okay, let me just try this. Let me just try that. Let me just try it. And I guess God was leading me and was coming together. He wrote a whole. So I just shared it as a broadcast with if you're my WhatsApp, you know about my broadcast. Y'all know.
Yeah.
Y'all know. Right. And then he read it, was like, oh, I can see what you're trying to do now. I understand. I was just like,
I was trying.
you know. So I totally understand what it is where if you feel convicted about it, then go for it. But don't use the lack of support as, because God gave you the vision. You have all the support you need. One plus God is majority, right? Okay,
Exactly.
so I want to talk about something before we jump into part B, which is You name the book. That internet thing you are doing. Where did that come from?
You know, that is it came
Sorry,
from
your voice is a
phrases.
bit low. I don't know if it's on my end, but
Okay. Can you hear me?
just check. Okay, let's see.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear.
Okay. It came from phrases that I got myself, right? Like I said,
Hmm.
when I started, going on the internet, talking, creating, the people around me did not understand what I was doing,
Yeah.
right? And when people don't understand what you're doing, the people that love you they just might not get it. But then there's another section of people who would love to dismiss you, to
Mm.
just, let you know that they know that you're not doing anything with your life.
Wow. Wow.
So I got questions, from that set, how is that internet thing you're doing? How is that your, that is
That
how's that
internet thing
your
you're doing.
yes, that's internet thing you're doing. You know, we, the people on the internet, we know that the internet is vast. In fact, it is the entire
Yes.
world, right? If there's agriculture offline, there's agriculture online. If there is
Yeah.
parenting offline, there's parenting online. If there is, so
Yes.
everything that is offline has gone online now.
Yes.
But when you boil everything I'm doing to that internet thing, is like, what is that thing that you're doing that I cannot be bothered to stress
Mm.
myself understanding? And so I got that phrase a number of times, and I don't know, it just stuck. It just, I should do something around
Mm.
that. Like, that wasn't the original name of the book. The original name of the book was Branding Boldly, because that's a program that I've done, it's a course I've created, it's a masterclass. So I have that section. But that internet thing you're doing, just when I boiled down to the fact that I was writing this book for the me I used to be, right? For the woman who is where I was a few years ago.
Yes.
This
Yes.
is, yeah. And so wherever she is, she's probably getting dismissals like this too.
Yes. Yes.
Or if she's thinking of starting, I want to write on the internet, I want to create videos, I want to start an
Yeah.
online business. She's probably, it might not be in these words, but she's probably getting dismissed too. So the point of the name, that was where the name came from. The point of the name is to call everybody that is interested or curious or trying to do the internet thing, but they're getting dismissed, or like nobody's supportive of the ideas, or they don't even know where to start.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That is incredible. That is so incredible. I know what I like about what you're saying. You're saying, listen, I'm writing this book for you to be your companion as you begin this process, or whether you're already in it or even advanced in it and you just need someone to kind of be
Mhm.
cheering you on or holding your hand, either to be like a coach to you if you're just starting out, or a mentor, kind of you're already on the journey. Let me point out there are some things that you see ahead. Okay, when this happens, or if this happens, this is what happened to me, and this is how I
Exactly.
handle this, and hopefully this can be helpful to you. Okay, I want to jump into personal branding. I started kind of stalking you when I was thinking more of my personal brand and saying, okay, I need to do something. I was seeing the gaps, I was seeing the opportunities missed because I could not really clarify my brand. And even as I speak to you, I'm still, in the process of, figuring things out. And so as I was doing some research, I watched the clip. Is this guy who these guys that speak very confidently online, blah blah blah. I don't really know much about him, but he said something. He said, I'm going to talk about two men. The first one, he said, in the past, it was your qualifications came first, then your skills, then you. He said, presently, it's now your skills, now then you, then your qualifications. And he said, very soon it's going to be you, then you be your personal brand, then your skills, and then your qualifications. So it got me
Yeah.
thinking. Then he said, look at Tony Elumelu. He's extremely successful, extremely wealthy. But you see him
Absolutely.
on social media, he's taking tea, he's doing yoga, he said,
Mhm.
we're seeing Otedola is online too. We're seeing people showcasing their lives. Why do you think that is? It's because they are aware that personal brand is going to be more important in the future. So they're positioning themselves, for that. I was like, okay. Then I saw was this other guy too. He's a Ghanaian American entrepreneur, startup in the startup
Okay.
space. And he said, he talked about the importance of personal brand, and he said, see, start the blog, do the video content, write the book, just start putting it out there. He said, in the next 5 years, this is what people are going to go and look at. This is what they're going to judge you by. Right. So going back to that guy about, it's not going to be your qualifications. It's not even going to be your skills. It's going to be you, your all the things you've communicated, all the things you've done. So what do you think about this mindset? Is it true from your experience? And if, how can people begin to position themselves? Like, I like the idea of 5 years. 5 years is a good time to actually completely turn a whole life, a whole career, a
Absolutely.
whole around, right? So what do
Absolutely.
you think? Yeah, what do you think?
Ruby, that's a great question because I am proof that your life can change in 5 years.
Wow.
I am
Wow.
proof. Where I was 5 years ago, 2019, 2020,
Yeah.
was completely different from this person right
Mm,
now. I was
mm.
not, I started my YouTube channel in 2019, by the way. I didn't know anything
Wow.
about personal branding. I didn't
Yeah.
have any digital skills. I was just trying to just share my self-development journey, right?
Mm,
And so it is the skills that I picked up while figuring out how to grow my YouTube channel, video
mm-hmm.
editing, social media marketing, Instagram marketing,
Yeah.
that I then realized, okay, I could use this to earn an income.
Mm.
So I started kind of like offering those services to business owners.
Ah.
2 years into doing that, I saw or realized or learned that personal branding, like you said, is the future.
Yeah.
While many people are following businesses now, they are rapidly shifting to following the business owners. People are losing
Yes.
trust for businesses, and so the only way that these businesses can continue to grow is by giving it a face, giving it a
Mm,
personality, right?
mm.
If a business, if UBA comes to tell me, oh, I had French toast for breakfast, that doesn't make sense. Quite frankly, right? Which of the branches had toast? Was it the building that had toast or the staff? There is no way on this God's green earth that it could connect. But if Mr. Elumelu comes on and says, and even just takes a picture of the toast, what
Yeah.
kind of bread was that? Me too, I had toast in the morning.
Yes.
Was your toast chicken?
Yes.
So I can now relate. And like it or not, Tony Elumelu is UBA.
True. True.
Right? The red tie is not a mistake.
Wow.
There is nobody that knows these two entities that does not relate, that does not connect them.
Yeah.
And it's not just that. The great thing about personal branding is like it's like roots, right? So
Mm.
let's look at again Tony Elumelu. We've got
Okay.
Transcorp. We've
Mm-hmm.
got Transcorp. We've got Transcorp Hospitality. We've got Transcorp the hotel hospitality, right? We've
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
electricity. We've
Yeah.
got UBA, we've got Airs
Yeah.
Holdings, we've got the
Yeah.
foundation, and it is his
Yes.
brand that fuels
Yeah.
all these. So the
Very
day
true.
when it's Transcorp's turn, all he has to do is just talk about the meeting he had with Transcorp, and the power of his personal
Mm.
brand moves in that
Mm.
direction.
Absolutely.
When he has a board meeting for UBA, all he has to do is just share that he has over 2 million followers, and the attention
Mm.
of those people is directed at the banks.
Very true.
When he's trying to highlight, so whichever of his businesses he's trying to highlight,
Mm-hmm.
the force of his personal brand is directing people there. So that is
Mm.
why personal branding is the future, because a business is a business. It's just one thing. You've got to specialize in one thing. But you can
Mm.
build your personal brand so powerfully that
Yeah.
no matter what it is you are going into, of course, structured and of course with pacing, it will
Yes.
fuel it because the people are buying into you and your story.
Yeah.
So if your
Yeah.
story is, oh, you didn't have parents and somehow you overcame that and you
Yeah.
built this, anybody that hears that story, right, that either resonates or
Yeah.
respects the story, they don't even have to have the same
Yes.
story as you, right?
Yeah.
It can just be pure respect. I respect the fact that you overcame this. So
Mm.
basically, your personal brand can be the root of a solid oak Like it can,
Hmm.
solidify and just have different branches. We follow Elon Musk everywhere, right? We
That's
follow
true.
from
That is
PayPal
true.
to Tesla
Yes.
to SpaceX to Starlink. We follow him
That's
everywhere.
true.
It's the
That is
brand.
true.
It's the brand that fuels
That is
it.
true.
So
And now we're very true. And now we're following him with what's his name? Um Trump.
as him and Trump are dragging, we're still following it. So it's the personal brand is forceful, and we have not even
Yes.
begun to understand the force of it. All
Absolutely.
right, I'll be
Wow.
there. Okay.
Okay. So Paula, you have someone who um okay, answer some of the question. Okay. I have something for you. When did you first become intentional about building your personal brand?
2020, 2021.
Okay. And
Even
why?
before even before I started personal branding as a business, the consulting
Yes.
and my agency that helps people build their personal
Yeah.
brands, I was doing it for myself. I kind of bumped
Hmm.
into it mistakenly, right? I was a small business owner and
Hmm.
I had
What
skills and I
business?
had experiences, right? Digital marketing skill, but for
Okay.
businesses,
Okay.
right? I noticed that when I shared about my business, I'd see maybe like 20% engagement.
Hmm.
When I share about my day or my breakfast or my person, it skyrocketed, right? It
Yeah.
went like
Yeah.
0 to 80. And so it
Wow.
started to wake me up to the fact. And because originally, now when I'm working with my clients, right, let's say we're starting from scratch, we find
Yeah.
one short form platform, one long form platform, and just hit it because I know it works. But
Okay.
I started with stumbling. I started with YouTube. So I already had a platform, even though I wasn't looking to build a platform. I was really
Got you.
just, so that I already by mistake had started building my personal brand without knowing I was. So the moment I realized that this was really it, that was when I locked in.
Wow.
That was when
Wow.
all of the skills that I was using for businesses, I turned it into personal branding. That was when I started creating
Okay.
courses on personal branding. That was when I
Hmm.
launched the podcast. That was when I started being serious about
Hmm.
Substack. That was when I started with my talking head videos. And my talking head
Hmm.
videos kind of, that's what announced to the world that I was the brand. So I wasn't,
Hmm.
yeah, it was. So I really advise everybody that can to start talking head videos because that is the fastest way to let people know you are here and you are standing on business for your personal brand.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. What about I want to ask about people that don't really talk well. Are there other options for them? What can they do? Because some people are very scared of talking, like they freeze, they forget what they want to say. What can they do?
I get it. If it's really bad, I mean by bad I mean you feel
Yes.
like there is no force on earth that can get you on camera, I would say start writing, right? We've
Mm-hmm.
got Twitter, we've got Threads. Those are short form
Yeah.
platforms that you can write
Yeah.
on, and then you
Okay.
can build your own website and write your own blog, or you can go on
Nice.
Substack and start writing there, or Medium, or
Yeah.
like these long form. You can start with writing,
Nice.
but there is nothing that is insurmountable. I have a
Hmm.
client right now who just got a brand deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
She just got a brand deal, and she let me know if she had not been working with me, she would have
Yeah.
turned the brand deal down because it involved getting on camera. And
Wow.
then she went
Wow.
further to tell me that they had actually reached out last year and she had
Wow.
turned it down because it
Wow.
involved her getting on camera. So
Mm,
I know for a fact that you can go from being shy of the camera to putting yourself out there, because we
mm,
are, I mean, we are God's image, right? There is nothing too hard. There is nothing that cannot
mm,
be worked through. There is nothing that cannot be
mm,
overcome. And if you look at it, the
mm.
fear of getting on camera is really the fear of judgment.
That's
I
true.
was
That's
not,
true.
but then again, if you don't get through the judgment, you will not be able to land on the other side.
Yes.
I was not this
Yes.
articulate when I started. I still have my first YouTube video up. Welcome. I still have my first YouTube video up, and I've been tempted to delete it, but I leave it up there as a
No, you
reminder.
can't delete it though.
I leave it up here as a reminder to myself how far I've come,
Wow.
and a reminder,
Yes.
to others. If anybody has the time, can
Yes.
scroll down, you will see a very sweaty, very rigid version of me, right?
Do you know?
The quality of the video was terrible. I remember I remember the chair I was sitting on. I remember what I was talking about. I remember that the ring light I used, I borrowed from a friend because I didn't have
Wow.
at the time.
Wow.
And I always come
Wow.
back and tell her thank you. 6 years down the line, she's like, Paula, stop it now. I'm like, no, you don't get it. Like,
You don't
I
understand.
remember, she was a
Yeah.
makeup artist and she started, she had to. So I borrowed one for a little bit. Her name is Felicia. She owns Felicin Beauty Hub. So, but I was shy. I was sweating. I was nervous. But I kind of understood that if I didn't get through this, there was
Yes.
no reaching
You
the other
never
side.
would. Do you know? I love what you're saying because I have a similar experience. I remember I was hanging out with two friends, a guy and a girl. So we're gisting, and my friend, the guy, looked at me and said, "Ruby, you speak so well. You should be doing all this stuff. You should be speaking on panels." I was like, "Yeah, I don't even know why they don't call me." Then my female friend, her name is Jewel, she looked at me and said, "Ruby, gently," she said, "maybe because they don't see you talking." Ah,
Yeah.
it pained
Jochi
me.
told you truth.
It pained me, but that made me start going and doing Instagram live. So
Yeah.
where you're talking about how it was cringe to even watch myself do it,
Yes.
even thinking about it, I can feel the feeling. But you know
Mhm,
what? It ended up being the thing that I got to interview a
yes.
lady who was a representative for an impact organization who are like a bridge between donors and NGOs and activists. And she worked the deal where I was able to get funding to do HIRA from doing those awkward Instagram lives
Yes.
in 2020. Paula,
Yes.
sometimes I'll be doing it. They will take lights. I'll be in the dark by myself talking. I'll be trying,
Yes.
or the times maybe when a guest didn't show up, I'll be talking by myself. It will be so painful. But
But
like
it
you said, you
works.
have to get through it. You have to get past the fear of judgment. Or even if you
Absolutely.
feel the fear, but do it anyway. Feel the
Yes.
fear, but do it anyway.
Yes.
I want to go into something
Absolutely.
that we've spoken about that have helped me with too, about being a multi-passionate person. So you might be someone that loves cooking, but you like to write, but you also like to dance, then you like to do this, you want to do this. I want to express yourself, right? How do how can one express these different aspects, because a lot of times they tell you focus on only one, but I'm seeing a trend where he was hearing of multi-potentialites. I mean, you're a great example of that. You're a branding expert, you're into digital marketing, you're a lawyer, you're a mom. That's a mom is a brand all on its own.
Yeah,
Wife
it
is another
is.
do you understand? You're an entrepreneur, you're a
Yeah.
philanthropist, you have your the
Enterprise
nonprofit
and
aspect, you
heels.
have your
Yeah.
conferences that you do, so you're many things. How are you able to manage all these things, and how can people do the same?
That's a great question. I completely understand. We are not made of one thing. We are not made of one thing. We are made of multiple things. That's what makes us
Mm,
unique, right?
yeah.
You and I might be interested in the same things, the same few things, but
Mm,
the collection of my own things, right, could never
yeah.
be the collection of your own things.
Okay.
That being said, when you're building a brand, it is the story that is the
Mm.
thread.
Oh.
It is the story that is the foundation.
Mm.
There's the foundation that has the story, and then the impact you want to make,
Yeah.
and then who you want to impact,
Yeah.
right? And the impact and who you want to impact will dictate the story. Here's what I mean. Now, I have multiple stories. I'm made of multiple stories.
Yeah.
I have a story explaining why I like my company.
Mm.
I have a story explaining how I became a lawyer. I have a
Mm.
mom story. I have an entrepreneur story.
Mm-hmm.
I have a writing story. I told you my writing story, how I got to
Yes.
write.
Yes. Yes.
We're made of multiple stories. But when you sit down, and this is where the clarity work comes in, you decide which of your many gifts and talents do you want to start with.
Mm.
Many people think that because I can do so many things, I can then come on and do so many things. But there's got to be a starting point.
Yeah. Yeah.
When an understanding of who you are at your core
Yeah.
happens and exactly how you want to make impact,
Mm.
then the other things can come on. It's a process.
True. Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
process. I'm also a Christian, right?
Mm.
But I don't
Mm-hmm.
feel called to preach.
Yeah.
However, anybody that comes in contact with my brand will know that I'm a child of God, that I believe in God,
Yeah.
that I walk with his leading,
Yeah.
even though I don't come on there to preach.
Absolutely.
But now that is part of my brand. So what I'm trying to say is you've got to pick a main thing first. Because again, a personal brand is meant to be monetized. It's supposed to
Mm.
attract opportunities.
Mm.
So opportunities need to see you. And to
Mm.
see you, you've got to put out content. And for you to
Mm.
put out content that they will see, you've got to be clear on the kind
Mm-hmm.
of opportunities you're looking for, and then
Mm-hmm.
create the kind of content that will attract those opportunities.
Mm. Mm.
So if the opportunities you're trying to attract is like business, right? You're trying to be a coach. You're trying to coach people in parenting, for example, because you have experience in that. But you're a Christian, right? And you're a wife, and you're also interested in gardening. But the opportunities you're looking for are in
Mm-hmm.
parenting, are in the parenting industry. So that has got to be your main core
Got
message.
you.
The story
Mm.
of how you became equipped to help people in parenting is then your main story. The rest of the
Mm.
additions can come on, but you've got to know exactly what you're looking for. At the same time, you could be a philanthropist, but if your philanthropist posts are more than the parenting posts, then you're not going to get what you're looking for. Even though philanthropy is part of you,
Yeah.
it's part of your brand as well. So what I'm saying is
Mm.
pick the core thing, go after
Mm.
it, and then add on the
Mm.
rest of it when you get where you're comfortable adding on.
Wow, I think that makes so much sense. I was watching something. A guy gave he said something. He said, let's say you're in business, but you like to cook and you like working out. But like you said, the core thing you're looking for are business opportunities. He said, okay, what you do is you make videos of you working out and then do voiceovers and be talking business. Business, give business tips, or you're cooking and give business tips. So that really,
Exactly.
really makes so what you're saying really ties into that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was trying to do side gist, give someone a message. I was going to ask about storytelling, but you've already said that is the common thread that
Yeah.
should be consistent across whatever it is you're doing. I also like that you highlighted that the opportunities you're looking for, the brand that has that is the one you should put front and center, and then the
Yeah.
rest.
Yeah. The
Paula,
rest
can you hear
can
me?
be
Okay,
embellishments.
yes. Yes, can
Yes.
be embellishments, can be a bit. Okay, so speaking of, how do you balance authenticity with professionalism in your public image?
That is a great question because that's always something that personal brands struggle with. I'm supposed to be
Yes.
authentic and show my real self. At the same
But at
time,
the
nobody
same
really
time,
wants to see my laundry unless I'm teaching laundry.
yes.
So I always tell my clients, especially the ones that say, "Oh, I'm a personal person. I don't like people in my business."
I want to be real.
Yeah, but we still want to be real. First thing I would say is don't share from a place of wounds. Share from a place of scars.
Wow.
That
Can
is
you
to
say that
say,
again?
don't share from a place of wounds. Share from a place of scars.
Wow.
So while the wound is fresh, you owe nobody an obligation to come online and cry.
Mm, mm, mm,
But when you have gone through the process of healing
mm.
and you have learned the lessons, then you can come and share. And that will be more helpful than if you came on to cry.
Wow.
Crying might go viral, but
Mm.
it won't help anybody,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
So that is the first thing I would say. You don't owe anybody your dirty laundry
Mm.
as it's happening. That's not personal branding. Your personal brand is not about you, it's about what you know and what you have learned that can help somebody.
Ooh. Say that
So
again for
if
the people at the back.
it's about what you know, what you have learned, what you have gone through that can help somebody.
Wow.
So if
Wow.
you feel like
Wow.
sharing something you're going through
Mm-hmm.
and you cannot see a clear way for it to help somebody in
Mm-hmm.
this particular
Mm-hmm.
moment, you are just giving
Mm-hmm.
gist. And you are not a blogger, you are not just blogger. You don't, you know. So there's that.
Mm.
There is still the matter of privacy. Building a personal brand does not rid you of the right to privacy, right? There is personal space.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There is, I won't come outside of my house in my nightie, for example. I won't come out of my gate with a nightie. Why do you expect that being authentic means coming online in my nightgown? Right? That's not my idea of it. There's somebody whose brand is lifestyle, and they've
Yeah.
got to show you how they get out of bed and how they do a morning routine
Yes.
and whatnot.
Yes. Get
That's
ready
what
with
they're
me. Blah blah
selling.
blah.
That's
Yes.
what they're selling. If I
Wow.
tell you I'm here to help you with your personal brand,
Why am I
and
showing you?
you, why why you have,
Wow.
no, this is the part of me that can help you. I never come
Mm,
on here to give parenting tips, unless jokingly, of course, or I learn like a really profound lesson. Because I'm not a
mm,
parenting brand. I don't consider myself a
mm.
parenting expert. There are some
Even
of
though
my
you are a
clients,
parent.
even though I am a parent, right? I'm my client's client because sometimes I help them help me. If you're a skincare expert and I'm helping you build your brand, I'm the client. I'm you I'm your client. I think we've lost Ruby again. I don't know whether to go on or not.